You want to speak about it? Let's speak. We're going to spread this encouragement from the church to the street. The Lekeisha Mosley Show. The Lekeisha Mosley Show. The Lekeisha Mosley Show. And they talk about nothing but the unseen and unspoken issues while providing encouragement and love and understanding. She talks about issues that people in high places and influences are afraid to discuss publicly. Stay tuned. It's about to get real live. And you're tuned in to the Lekeisha Mosley Show.
Wow. Amen. God is truly good. Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm so thankful to be here. I'm so thankful that you're here with me on the Lekeisha Mosley Show. It is Lekeisha Mosley, and I'm excited because this is a great day that God has created and He has made, and we rejoice and be glad in it because we know just who we are and whose we are. Amen. Wow. Today is going to be a great show. I'm actually really trying to hold back my excitement, just how great this show is going to be. Before I introduce my special guest, I want to go ahead and tell you the topic that we're going to be covering, and then we're going to go right into the special guest. The topic that we're going to be covering today is called Life Changes Are Consistent. Life changes are consistent. Have you beginning your life really understanding that reality, that life changes are consistent? They're going to happen. So the more that you understand that and the more that you embrace it, you will really be able to get into a place where you're understanding what God is truly doing in your life because He's forever evolving, forever growing within you. And if you keep up with Him and understand just how He's forever evolving, your life is going to be even more better. Hey, I'm excited about tonight's show because my special guest is an amazing man of God, a true gentleman of the Word, and my gosh, my radio hero. It is none other than the revolutionary. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him right. He has a lot of accolades. His script and everything that's about him is truly amazing. But I want to go ahead and let him talk. But first, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that he is a radio and TV engineer. He is the founder and owner of Positive Power Christian Media, XXI. He is but none other than Jerry Royce Live, a.k.a. The Batman. Jerry, are you on the line with me?
Hey, what's going on, Lekeisha? Thank you for having me on your program. God is good. How you doing?
I'm really great. I'll try to calm down because I believe it's the first time I ever interviewed you. So I'm trying to slow my words right now. I'm trying to make this really calm and easy.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you. It's kind of different sometimes being on the other side of the mic. You know, the game changes.
It truly does. It truly changes. Wow, you never know when that time is going to happen. You just got to be ready, right?
That's right. You got to be ready. You never know when God calls your number for anything.
That is truly true. We're going to talk about that tonight because we never really talked about just how I began to become a part of the show and just everything that involves you in radio. So I want you to go ahead and give us a snippet because not everybody knows just how great you are, Batman, and just really what God is doing within your life, and you're truly allowing Holy Spirit to move forward in your life. Can you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Of course, for those that are regular listeners, they know that I'm a dad. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I'm a big time dad, super husband. You know, I'll try to make sure my wife was happy at all times. happy wife, happy life. That's been my life motto. And, of course, I sow a lot of seeds into my children. I have, one college graduate, one, going into her third year, and my baby boy going into his first year this fall. And of course, everybody know I've been in publishing business with my family for over 20 plus years. With my brother, my father, and my mom was the investor in the company. My sister, she's an accountant, so she always watched our books and kept us budget minded. So we always understood what it was like to work with what you have and don't go overboard. And grandfather, both my great grandfather was a land owner. I think he owned over 300 or 400 acres of land. Divided out to family members. My grandfather, his son, ended up turning that into a farm, where he also had farm animals and produce. He had lawn care business and janitorial business. So we kind of learned at an early age what it was like to have your ownership of your own labor or your own labor force, because he actually had a lot of our relatives that worked for him, and they depended on that. And also that kind of sold something else into me too, that just because you work for somebody or you working, in your family business doesn't mean you can't have your own. I remember my uncle, he actually had his own band. He helped my grandfather run all the pieces of his business, but he also had his own band. And he was so good at that, he ended up going into the armed forces to be a drummer for the U.S. Army. But he played many instruments. So I got a chance to see a lot, at an early age. Going through high school, my homeboys, we put a DJ group together. The group became so popular that we was actually in high school, but we were not only doing high school dances, but we also were playing for college college fraternities and sororities at Morgan State University and Coppin. They were like regular customers for years. And then when we all went off to college, all my friends, we all attended college around the same time. We were the same age. I still had a love for entrepreneurship. Ended up studying television production and electronic technology and graphic design for my first 2 years. And then my last degree, my bachelor's degree, I actually studied corporate communications, which consisted of marketing, internet technology, and more graphic design. So, and I was doing that while I was working for a local publishing company. So I was actually working in IT for a couple of years. And then I ended up going into community service to see what was going on in the community, which was a blessing because I never thought I would ever work as an advocate, and had the opportunity to work as a counselor for a few years until I got promoted to work with the health department, working with homeowners and landlords, making the home safe for kids from lead. So I got a chance to understand what grant writing was like, and also leadership, because I had to work with a lot of different agencies that were collaborating. So I understood what collaboration was like and how powerful it was on that level, trying to help the community. And then from there, I went back into the federal government and started working with a number of leaders in marketing and understand how the payment center work, how the regions work, how all 65,000 employees are all connected. Had an opportunity to do some work for the White House in a leadership program, where I also built a radio podcast for them, as well as redesigning different type of programs for them that was working within the communities. We had partnerships going on with the high schools and with the executive leaders. So my job was to connect the executive leaders with second chance high school students. And then from there, I started working on a podcast. I met a young man that was from Sierra Leone, and he was here on a scholarship at Columbia University. He also was working with a German inventor on iCloud technology when it was first coming out. So he taught me a lot about iCloud technology and social media, which was his specialty. And he helped me build Positive Power. And that's the guy voice that you guys hear that we call Robot. His name was Robert. And that's where I came here. So then when I was in the training program, when I finished up that training program, I went into another one, and I ended up started studying cinematography on my own and more social media. And then that's when I already knew about television. It just was a matter of the equipment getting cheaper. So this is where I am right now. Positive Power XI. Amen. So that's my journey.
Wow. Wow. Amen. Listen, I mean, that is, it's truly, truly rewarding and amazing just to have that variety of areas that you were able to touch throughout your life, and all of it was right on time.
Yeah, it was.
Isn't that amazing? How do you feel about that?
Oh, man, it's crazy when you think about it, because I think I was actually kind of going in the wrong direction, or I think God wanted me to be more focused, because I kind of had a slight hesitation, a little bit of fear going back into cinematography, because I had been away from editing for so long. I just didn't feel like, man, do I really feel like that learning curve, because I want to be able to pick up something and go right to it, and I had a little fear of getting into editing, because my son didn't want to do no editing, because he already had his share of it, because he had done some stuff with ESPN and a couple other major communication companies, and he kind of was more like, now I'm kind of changing my role a little bit. So I couldn't really count on him to help me on that end. And then I remember his brother actually had a film company. He was actually doing some documentary for a professional basketball player. And I remember him telling me, after showing me the footage, he said, man, I hate editing. So he kind of put that in me. So I said, man, I'm gonna have to get into this thing. So I asked a few people around the agency, the guy that was running the communication department, which software did he really like out of all of them. He said, oh, you're gonna like this one right here. You're gonna really love it. It's real easy to learn, and they about to sell a company, so it's actually gonna get better, because a smaller company about to take over, and he saw it going into a positive direction. So he told me to stay with him, and I'm still with him. It's been like 7 years now, maybe 5 years I've been with that company. So God does his thing. Like I said, I had a little fear, but what happened was when I got sick. When I got sick, it kind of changed the way I was focused on stuff. So then I went into without the fear, which was crazy, because I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to shoot and learn because you had to learn sound, audio, visual. All that stuff was coming together, and then you start finding out that what you thought can do everything couldn't do everything. So then you got to start finding third parties. It was crazy. So, but I think the illness changed my mindset that go ahead and do it. And that's how God works sometimes. Make a negative a positive.
Wow, you're right about that. That is truly how God works, and you really honestly don't see that until that phase in your life happens, not before, but right afterwards. You're able to see, wow, God, all of these pieces of the puzzle actually work. This actually goes together, and now I'm seeing what you're doing in my life, and I really see, that everything was of value. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Wow. I love that's truly amazing. Wow, just how each area fits, and each area is right on time for your journey. Oh my gosh, Positive Power, XXI. That is a true story, honestly. I remember hearing the whole story and just what each part means. Most people don't realize just how it truly is really God's word. The Holy Spirit, feel the power and all of that. I feel that it was truly, you received the vision and you just moved with it.
Yep. Sometimes and I remember, it was funny because it was just 2013. I remember it was a government shutdown. And this time I was actually in headquarters. So headquarters, they're not considered to be, essential employees. So, we didn't have to go to work. So we just was going to be home, till things were settled in October. And I remember, jumping into Netflix, man. I was loving up some Netflix. I think I was going to bed 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and I was taking in the whole season of different shows. And I remember I was starting to run down on stuff that I was interested in. And I remember a friend called me, and she actually had a small business in computer technology, and also she was running a IT department for an agency. And she said, Jerry, you should check out Facebook, because, she tries everything. And I said, Facebook? All right, I got an account, but I don't think I've ever done anything with it, So she said, well, you should check it out because it's a world within a world. It's like you could do businesses, it's right in front of you. I could see this thing taking off, check out the origin, So I looked up, the history of it and everything, and jumped in, and I could really see the vision of it, where this guy was taking this thing. It was like he was building a world that you traveled through digitally, and I like the way he had the pages set up, and it's just everything was so clean for the end user. And I said, this guy really thought this thing out right here. So I jumped in there, and I like it. And of course, with all the other pieces with YouTube and IG and some of the other stuff that's coming around, it's just making it better for entrepreneurs. Like, not only I felt like God built this thing to connect his, the Christian community, because a lot of you guys I would have never met. I think I really don't do any business with anybody locally. I think the closest person is Kelly, but everybody else is, in other states and in townships, So that's remarkable to me. I don't think it would have been Positive Power if it wasn't for the power of Facebook, to tell you the truth, with that footstool, taking that first step. Amen.
Amen. Listen, that was actually going to be my next question I was going to ask you, because most people don't really understand just really everything. Like I said, is working together. It's all intertwined. Feel the power of the Holy Spirit, and how each podcaster was created, because each podcaster is not just created just if they put in the submission and they're able to come on board on the team, on this family. No, you have to actually be invited and recommended, and by a highly recommendation, and it has to be somebody that like and trust. Yes. And I've seen that avenue that you worked, towards, and you trust that piece of the puzzle, because it's truly divine by God.
Yes, no doubt. I mean, he answers a lot of my questions a lot of times with just, it's just crazy how things happen. You just think it sometime, and you focus on what you think he's speaking into you, and next thing you know, it's happening. Like right now, we work pretty much Monday through Thursday, and I kind of asked God if I could leave Fridays available, because I felt like it was going to be some opportunities to start talking about what we're doing to other stations. So I'm getting opportunities to interview, and people were really interested in how Positive Power was developed and how it was built. And so I did that, and it was happening. We're getting interview opportunity for television, radio. Even though we do have our own, it's still, I'm the engineer, So that was fantastic, especially with what's happening now with the agency. And you're right, a lot of the individuals that's been in place here were recommended, and a lot of times, I really listen to the people who belong to Positive Power, because they have a stake in Positive Power. It's not like they just clients or mentees or whatever. They have a stake, they have an interest, they have sown a lot into Positive Power to make it what I know it's going to be. Because right now we're not even nowhere where we know we can be. You know that from the meetings that we've had. So it's like I was talking to my cousin over in Johannesburg, because he helps me a lot with we talking a lot about music productions and stuff, and he knows a lot of stuff when it comes to dealing with children, because he owns his own private private school over in Johannesburg, so he understands what interests kids and what they like and what they dislike. So I'm like really tuning into what he's saying about, and plus he's a music engineer also and producer, so I'm really excited about the other part of Positive Power. Amen.
Oh, amen. I mean, I just feel like that is just truly amazing because it's almost like you don't have to figure it out. I talk about that all the time, how, you try to figure out which piece goes together. It's like, I think this goes together, but it doesn't work out that way. And it's like, wow, when you just relax and just let God take control, it really is a seamless effort because, it always works out, for your good, exactly what you're looking for. And I really feel that with Positive Power. I love how you said as far as how everyone, it's almost like God is handpicking each, podcaster to come on to the team, because each person has a different part of the ministry.
Yes.
Everyone ministers a different way. Can you tell us about that? Because that is totally creative, niche. In other words, you didn't tell us what to do, how to operate our podcast. You said, no, you have to be led by the Spirit, and
right.
It just flows through.
That's right. It's be you. Yeah, that was really unique because a lot of the podcasters that we have were actually on our shows or were part of another show. And I've had some podcasts that have been with me for a while now. One individual who really helped me get this thing off the ground was Spreaker. Because what happened, we were all kind of connected with this one young lady. She was a communication specialist, and she was helping some pieces of Spreaker Radio when they were really just getting off the ground themselves. They had the technology, they had the platform, but I think it was the licensing with the music that was changing the game for them. Because they were making a lot of money with the Hispanic population. Before the licensing and everything kind of changed up the way DJs, because this was really just a DJ platform. DJs just came on and just spin all night long for thousands of people. It wasn't really that much talk radio at one time, So you really had to have an engineer to really work this platform. So when me and another gentleman, call him Superman, figured out how to get this live thing to work out and sound like FM radio. That was my goal. I wanted this thing to sound like FM radio. And so when I was able to get it there, and even some people that were musicians that had a fine ear, they would tell me little things that they were hearing. And shout out to Harvey Morris, because he would call me. He said, Jerry, you need to do this. Fix that, man. I got some boards here. And, they was willing to give me stuff, So I said, no, I think I could figure it out. It just was a matter of me understanding some of the cabling and, several boards. So when all that got together, it seemed like that's when everything fell in place with the podcasters. It's like they were guests. I knew what they brought to the table. And it's like, if I didn't ask, they asked. Or if someone didn't refer their name, then they asked. So it's like God was working in all areas of our lives for that moment. Amen.
Amen. I mean, I truly feel that, because, experiencing that, it's like, it's almost like your talents evolved at the right time, and they're utilized at the right time. And I believe, you're positioned at the right time in every area of life, in every part of ministry. I mean, do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, wholeheartedly. Definitely. It's just, I always believe that, God, he wants us all to be successful and happy. And of course, the Bible does speak that, not everyone is going to be rich. Not everyone is going to be middle class. Not everyone is going to be poor. You're going to have a little bit of everything. But the whole goal is we supposed to reach back and help the next man or woman, help pull them up by their bootstraps. And I've been watching some documentaries and some programming that been, targeting the first responders, but not just the first responder. I was just looking at a program with one of our top pop artists, and she actually was giving like major gifts to these individuals that was just going beyond the call of duty. This one man, he actually stayed in Louisiana after the Katrina and built a grocery store. He took a messed up, tore up building and made it a grocery store, a laundromat, and a kitchen. You could buy food there. I mean, he actually bought enough rice and beans that if a family didn't have anything, he could give them rice and beans off his shelf. And that was like, that was incredible what this guy was doing for his community. And then he had partnered and collaborated with another business, and he was able to provide hot meals. I'm not sure if he did it every day, but yeah, I think he did it every day. He was able to provide meals to people who didn't have anything during this COVID period, who had lost their jobs. And then it was just fascinating looking at that, that you see someone going beyond the call of duty like that, and you say, wow, what can I do as a business? And I feel like Positive Power, the whole idea of Positive Power was designed to keep people encouraged and to motivate people, to give them confidence that they can do this. And I've had so many people reach out to me, inbox, and say, man, you're encouraging me. I want to be like you. I want a TV station. I want a radio station. And then you have all these people building podcasts. And what we all doing, we all building confidence in other people who otherwise wouldn't have anyone to give it to them, but they can get it from the airways. They may not get it from their pastor or maybe get it from the first lady, but they can tune in to Positive Power or any other podcast that's in our circle and be encouraged, helping somebody mentally, not just physically. But amen.
Wow, I agree with that. It is truly, it all works together, and you're able to, sow into someone's life. I love the fact how it's not just, the four walls of the church, right? It's not that, because there's some people that, probably would never go into the four walls of the church, let alone go back if they have been there, and you're probably the only Jesus that someone's going to see. And I love how, just the vision is really meeting that need, for God's people, because look, God loves everybody. And he has an avenue, a plan for each and every person, depending on where they're at in their walk, and he has a plan. And, he's just waiting on an ear to be in tune with him, to buy into that plan. And I feel that is what you do, just with everyone's ministry. Let us know how many podcasts currently right now that you have that's flowing through the airwaves.
Yeah. So far, on this network, our live network, we averaging close to 3 live shows per night, and I think one night, which I think is Thursday night, actually have 4. Wednesday and Thursday may have 4 podcasts, and Monday and Tuesday have 3, because we used to do the triple podcast every day, but I think we've been stacking them lately. We did bring on, I believe, like 3 or 4 new podcasters, and they bring in phenomenal pieces to the puzzle as well. Everybody's just so different. It's like you don't have no 2 Dr. V's, and there's no 2 Dr. Duckets, and or Gene Turner, because we're going to have 2 life coaches, but they both bring something different to the table. And I'm excited to what they're going to do, because, of course, Gene Turner, she's also an Army nurse, so she knows a lot about health, and she's also a cancer survivor herself, so she have a lot that she can sow into people. So we're so excited, because she's also a piece of Shalonda Williams' show too, so you get a chance to see what she brings to the table. So it's like I'm really excited what everybody brings, especially when you came on board. You brought the transparency piece to help people open up, not just have to sit on there and tell all that business, but just basically letting people know, say, hey, this is where I came from, but this is where I am today, so people can witness that God is working in people's lives, because some people don't believe he's doing anything, or they think he's taking too long, but they don't understand he's guiding them in the right direction. They just was going the wrong way for so long. Like a lot of us, we was going the wrong way. And like you hear all the time, how can you preach to somebody if you don't have that experience yourself? But I can say a lot of people on this platform has the experience, and they can share and help, guide you in the right direction. I mean, like, I never been in a hardcore gang, but because my girlfriend, my past girlfriend had brothers that was in gangs, and they liked me and my friends, and they would pay us to DJ for them and be at their parties. We've been around, thugs and hardened guys that, they would doing business at night, but doing it on Sundays, we all got together and played softball, which was remarkable. And somebody said, man, I heard you used to hang on Linden and North Avenue. White Lock, yeah, man. Shoot, man, I wouldn't go around White Lock, man. If the sun was up, but that was where my girlfriend lived at, and my boys used to go with me, and we used to play softball on Sundays and had cookouts, and so I got a chance to see a lot of different parts of, like, 'cause my mom was a school teacher, so basically school teachers kind of live in the same neighborhood, so everybody were educators. So that's what we grew up with. Then my dad was in industrial work, as a printer, and most of the guys, the men that was in my neighborhood, them guys were either mechanics or they worked for utility companies. So everybody kind of parents kind of shared the same occupations. So we kind of grew up where we knew that the next step after high school was going to be college for a lot of us. It wasn't going to be going to trade school or anything. It was like, no, you guys going to college. So I got a chance to see everything, and I felt like God had conditioned me and built me a certain way that I kind of understood and could see what people go through. Because like I was telling you earlier, when I was working as a health advocate, I was in Sandtown, Winchester. I was on the east side. I was on Green Spring during the daytime. I mean, we were in neighborhoods where the police had yellow tape still up, or they had that big spotlight up because it was a murder investigation was going on at night, or we just saw a crime just was committed. We was in those communities because those were the people who needed help, and that's what the grants that we was working on was for. It was for those people. So we were in their homes. We were in rat infested homes and roach infested homes, but our job was to help them move forward. And then before that, I was doing working for the health department. I was telling you, I was also working as a health counselor. I was working with the at-risk pregnancy women, the young girls. I had girls in my caseload that were like they were like 12. I had 2 children. And the deal was I had to make sure they got through school, to get to the next level. So that was my goal, was to coach them through. Make sure they had, they learned about family planning, got them signed up for different motherly workshops and understand how to take care of their baby, and also make sure they were signed up for programs. So I got a chance to watch people go all the way from GED to getting in college. I enrolled quite a few young ladies in the Coppin and Morgan State University with scholarships, full scholarships. So those were some really nice accolades right there. I love those accolades. Amen.
It is. It truly is. That just pretty much just sets the tone, for what we're talking about. How life changes are consistent. It's constant. God is forever moving in your life. And you pretty much just let us know just how God works, because honestly, some of those, young girls, some of those young men, they're probably not going to go into the 4 walls. But, we're out there, being the evangelist, being, the outreach ministry. We're out there figuring out, what is needed. But it's like not doing something that we don't like to do. It's something that we were already gifted in doing. Right. And I feel that's what God is doing with all of us. And you have a good sense of noticing that and discernment of figuring out, actually how to help each individual podcaster with their path.
Amen. Yeah, I love that. Training, of course, like when we were getting in television, we kind of pulled you right out of the podcast booth right into the streets, doing media coverage and everything. And I said, Lekeisha going through boot camp, and I know a lot of times, Shay and I will be trying to add up the airtime between you and Paula. I said, she don't know. I said, sometimes Lekeisha had pulled some interviews for like 3-4 hours where she was standing up on her feet. She had no cushion couch and no break time. We were just rushing people right in and giving them their 10, 15 minutes of fame, moving to the next one. So I felt like, you got a chance to really get some really good, training under your belt And I know Mo probably can call you and say, yeah, I know what it's like to be Lekeisha, because I had to do that on the red carpet and talk to people that you don't know anything about. You don't have no warm up. You know, they just show up and you gotta give a decent interview, you know, so people want to hear it. So, you know, we're quite proud of, you know, watching you, grow in television and in radio. So we know that anything big come up, we know Lekeisha Mosley can handle it. So we feel good about that as we move forward into something even bigger that God got planned and laid on my heart. And, you know, I am so excited about our next phase. It just, you know, I'm going to tell you, Keith, one of the things that was always bothered me for a long time, I was always talking to God pretty much, you know, through my thoughts. And it's like, you know, there's no way I can pass all of this right here down to my kids, you know, because it's, you know, it's for the radio. Once, you know, how many times you see radio stations, if they're not being sold, they just shut down, you know, it's no more, you know, unless you got a bunch of clients lined up for advertising, you know. And of course, you know, where internet radio is just starting to get that respect where people want to put money into it, you know, to get their product and services out. So it's like that was always on my mind. Is, you know, if something happened to me, could I even pass this down to my kids? And probably the answer is probably no. They gonna come down here and not gonna know what's going on. It's like, well, what computer is the mic connected to? They won't know. So and then even looking at the television side, you know, it's not like they really could take over that, because it's not like you know, every day we're shooting a show like most television stations, or they shoot like every day, so you can kind of, you know, have different people working in there and pick it up, you know, understand how the working pieces are. But we work like, I think like every 3 or 4 or 5 months, you know, we shoot all our episodes in one day, which a lot of people do that. You know, you know, the expenses is for that whole day. So you try to get in as many shows as you can, you know, and that's how, especially because, of course, you know, 2 of our other talents don't live in Maryland, so we have to get it in when we can. So I said, well, there's no way I can pass that down. I could pass the equipment down to my kids, but nothing more than that. So of course, you know, now I'm looking at something that I can actually pass down, and which I really feel I can. And you know, I'm just so excited about the next phase of what our media company is about to do. Is so exciting right now. Even with the COVID-19 going on, it's just giving us more time to understand what we're doing, you know, and give us more time to put the pieces together, you know, and understand what God is trying to, you know, instill in us, what He wants, you know, our assignment. Amen.
Oh, wow. Amen. Truly. Honestly, everyone, if you're just not tuning in to the Lekeisha Mosley Show, you have an amazing special guest. We have none other than radio and TV engineer, founder and owner of Positive Power XXI Christian Media, Jerry Royce live, a.k.a. the Batman, on the Lekeisha Mosley Show. And this is the first time he's actually been interviewed on my show. I'm so honored and so thankful.
Yeah, we talk all the time.
It's truly amazing. we talk all the time. It's crazy because we're always creating, you know, just really just becoming a better person as far as our parts of the puzzle. And mind you, I'm just a little piece. I'm just making sure I'm keeping up with the Batman on Positive Power XXI. Because honestly, Jerry, I just want to be honest with you. You are ahead of the curve, you know, when it comes to, you know, what we're doing, honestly, in internet radio, because isn't it crazy just with what's going on with today? Others are just now starting to get into podcasting, just now starting to get into internet radio. I mean, I'm listening to different segments and different pieces of businesses going into, you know, how you have, what is it? You know, the different parts of cable television, you know, and, you know, how most are going a little bit more into it now versus into movie theaters.
Right.
Because now we're not able to go into theaters, right? So what do you have to say about that? Because this is like different.
Yeah, you know, at one time it was kind of, I was trying to figure out what was going on, because I noticed that the movie theaters were starting to invest. They were kind of getting a little nervous, and they were trying to figure out how to compete with streaming technology. Cause, just face it. Now a person can take an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment. They can turn one room into a small theater, and the televisions are thinner. They sound better. They look better. They not as expensive. Cause I remember when those televisions were $10,000. I remember I was working at Best Buy when my wife and I first got married. And I remember it was only the Ravens that could afford those televisions. And they weren't nothing like they are today. So the theaters decided to take it up a notch and start converting there into what they call bistros, where you can have a restaurant right there and order your food and, the whole surround system, trying to do something that, give you the experience, and then some of them have bowling alleys in them and bullets. So they kind of want to say, oh, if this person leave the house, we want them to have a really, really good time when they come out. And they did a really good job with that. I say, man, they did a great job. Because even I know when we go to Hampton, they had the places that were set up like that. You could play pool, you could watch the movies. And the movie theaters was phenomenal looking too, so comfortable. The food was delicious. Of course, you paid a little more to go out, but it was for the experience. So I'm thinking now, okay, what's going to happen, because I know one of the things that was being talked about when I was working under the last president administration, one of the big talks was, if something happened where, if it was a world event went on, like what happened with 9/11, because that was something a lot of leadership was thinking, that shut down everything. That shut down Wall Street. What's going to happen if it was worse than that, like an invasion or something, what are we going to do? Can we still operate our economy? So that was the one reason why the internet companies became what they became. You notice right now, we've been all up and running with all these people connected. There's more people connected on the internet than ever before. You're seeing celebrities, local celebrities, national celebrities, foreign governments, local governments. Shoot, I never seen Governor Hogan on television as much as we did ever. I got never on TV. So that just shows you the power of the internet, and I mean, with what I have running in my home and it was just in time that Xfinity had finally beefed up the residential Wi-Fi system, that was right on time just last summer. And so with all that said, it's like, we did go through that national emergency, that national world event, which is happening now, but the world is still moving to a certain extent, not what it was before, because a lot of the people who was, services, service people, they're not able to do everything they possibly can right now because they still trying to figure it out, especially with when you talk about, the local bars, your movie theaters and, any place where people are in close vicinity of each other. That's like a concern right now. But the rest of us, we still can operate, as long as we connected. You can still operate. So I felt like I was kind of ready for this at age 15 because I used to have a love for Citizen Band radio. And they still around too, because I know my buddy, he has one in his truck. And they enable you to talk to other truckers like so many miles out. I think the radius is maybe 6 to 8 miles on some of these systems. And I know my parents gave me a base station when I think I had graduated from middle school into high school. And I fell in love with that thing, just talking on the radio, getting to know people that are living in your vicinity or your airwaves, getting to know who they are, through the system. So, and I had asked my dad to send me to radio school too. When I graduated out of high school, he said, nope, you got to go. He said, electronics is big right now. People need their VCRs and TVs fixed. So that's what he was looking at. We're going to start a business. That was his dream, So he wouldn't let me go to radio school when I really wanted to go to radio school. But I'm glad that I did choose to go the direction he did, because that's when I got the studio. I got a chance to work for Comcast. They had they had a studio actually at the college, and we got hands-on experience, and work with the equipment, and because everything is still the same process. It's just that the technology is better and more reasonable now. So I think right now, the world was kind of prepared for this. Maybe our world leaders weren't, but I think a lot of people kind of had this vision that, doing online was kind of sewn into us, because how some people say, man, you can just wake up and see thousands and thousands of dollars in your bank account. while you sleep. Your business can work itself without you being there. Which is incredible because that just means that you got to understand marketing now. And I think that's where a lot of us are right now. And it's like not just so into what you're doing as a performer or radio station or television, whatever you're doing online or even an author. Now it's time for us to start sewing into marketing, which means we need to just tell as many people as we can what we're doing. The more people that know what you're doing, the more people have access to your product and your services. Amen. So that's where we are right now.
Amen. That is so real. And it is just constantly evolving. It's moving forward. It's almost like you said, it's either you keep up or you're left because, now we're forced to not only, you work from home, but you're forced to homeschool.
Right.
And you may not have been ready for it, but now you have to be, right?
That's right.
So
that's right, because they weren't. Because I think that's the problem with the parents are struggling right now because the school systems weren't ready for this. Like, luckily, my son's teacher, I worked with him when I was doing when I did the adopter school program with our agency in this local school. It was actually his school at the time, but now he's at my son's school. He's the principal, and he already has set up where the high schools were taking computers home and they were connected to the internet. So they were ready. It's just that a lot of the teachers weren't ready. They didn't have the assignment. Some of them didn't understand how to connect to the technology themselves. The kids actually know more. So a lot of our leaderships and a lot of our businesses, our corporations, our government agencies, our local and state, they're in the same predicament. They don't really understand the full capacity of their smartphone. They still was glued on wanting to keep the BlueBerry, which was limited when it came to internet connection. Your smartphone is no different than your PC and your Macintosh or your laptop. It's the same thing. It's just smaller, but it does even more, then you'd be surprised. So I was ready for this thing, and I'm still looking for more innovative ways to sow into what I do, and so people have access to it, whether it's communications, entertainment, or merchandise, because that's where I'm moving into now is more merchandising, which means I'm really jumping on branding. That's where I'm at right now. There's more branding. Amen.
Wow, this is amazing. Listen, I'm so excited because we have so much really to cover. We can't do it in this particular episode, but we definitely will in the future. But like you just began to tell us, just how God is creating different projects for you, moving forward in the future. And it's hard to go over all of them, but I know that God is doing some new things within you currently right now that I know you want to share with everyone.
Oh yeah. One thing, God gave me some steps and some things that I needed. And it's funny because those people have been in place for years. Like, for example, one small example, for me, branding is so important. That's one of the first things that my marketing teacher really jumped on, because she was in television. She actually worked for a Denver news station. So she knew how important it was for branding because they were competing against other news stations. So it's like you always got to wow your consumers, your listeners or your viewers. So for me, I said, okay, I'm moving into a new territory now, which is more, children television, not getting away from adult television because I still want to communicate and keep those connections with them. But now I'm moving into children television, which is a huge market. And I'm saying, okay, so how do I supposed to look? How do I supposed to appeal to a young child? What do I remember what I used to be attracted to as a young child? And that was always primary colors, and wacky stuff, So it's like I have to now look at my designers and say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you what I wanted to say, but you show me in your mind what God gives you the way it look. And of course, the first time it was a mistake, the first person I was working with, right? but they kind of put me on the right track of what I needed. So then when I got with the second person, it was a young man that used to was under me. I was actually managing a department, an agency, and this guy, I was like, wow, this dude is so smart, man. He's super intelligent. He was a businessman. He had connections as a frat brother. He had a huge fraternity. It's all over this doggone planet, and I was like, wow, this guy got major. What is he doing here? But he left and pursued another opportunity. And then I got back with him again a couple years later, and he had started up his own T-shirt or printing press for screen printing. And so I said, okay, I know where he is. Bam, bam, bam. Got with him. He said, oh, yeah, man, you need to talk to my artist. Man, met the young man yesterday. Logo done. And you saw it. I was like, wow.
Exactly.
I said, I love that, and it was so, I was like, wow, that's God right there. So now I'm ready to build from that, and where we are right now when it comes to the characters and everything. So he actually pushing me to another artist who I'm going to be talking with soon to start working with some college students in animation, so I'm so excited about this whole process because, man, God has shown me some stuff with this, like all I keep thinking about is, the Ringling Barney Brothers Circus. It was like, that's where my mind at, it was like, what was their beginning like before they became that, Three Ring Circus, what did they look like at first? So that's like my homework is to look at, the Ringling Brothers, what they looked like before they became the big Three Ring Circus, that they became, moving into big civic centers and arenas, when they traveled the world. So that's what I see, those the kind of visions I get. And like I tell anybody, you could be whatever you want to be. Just, there's no, God don't have no limit on your imagination and what he's going to bless you with. You only put those limitations on yourself. And you witness yourself exactly where my mind has been lately. And of course, sometimes the devil's going to try to put some other little stuff in that. But man, I said, I got enough experience that I can even handle that now, cause that's the same old trick he gave me when I was in high school. Distraction of females. It's not even a distraction no more. So it's like, I know what I want to leave my children. And even if they don't, want to carry it on, at least it'd be worth something, So that's why I can't wait till COVID is over. But I think it's going to probably last as long as it needs to, because people were moving so fast in this world that they were never looking behind to see who was behind them. They needed them to, it's just like your brother just slipped and fell behind you, but you still running, don't even know it because you just focused in front of you. That's not the way God had built us. He didn't build us that way. So that's not something that Jesus would do, would leave another man. Just like the Marines say, no man's left behind. And every time I hear that, it always remind me of that, as an individual. Who is that person behind me? Well, most likely it's probably your children or your siblings, or your relatives that's behind you, who's waiting for you to do what God wants you to do so they be able to live their life accordingly. I always believe that. Amen. So Thank you so much,
That
Lekeisha.
is so true. I love it. This is just truly amazing. I mean, it's truly falling in line just with the positive power vision, and what you're doing, and I love how you just said as far as, who's going to take on the reins. Look, God already has that covered. Everything's already entwined together. Everything's always working out, so God already knows the vision. God already knows, the different areas to work within your ministry, and it's so many people that have your back and just connected with you, more than you haven't even seen yet. God is truly doing so many things, and I just love how he's working within all of us because we're able to really just be a blessing unto the Positive Power ministry. Wow, life changes are consistent. It just is, God is just moving forward. He's showing us what he's doing within our business. He's showing us what he's doing within our families. I love it. Wow, Jerry, let us know. Look, even though, you're here, you're behind, the scenes. No one usually sees you. How can we stay connected with all the different pathways, on the radio shows? How can we stay connected with them all?
All right. Well, of course, everybody, just stay on our Facebook page. Everything happens there. I mean, it's actually more updated than our webpage. Basically, the webpage holds a lot of our promotions and everything, but basically everything happens right on our Facebook page. I found that, it's a very powerful resource and people understand how to use it. They don't really have to go a whole lot, go away too far from home to check you out. So why not, just build on that. So check us out at positivepower21.org, or you can check us out on our Facebook page, which our handle is Jerry Royce Live on IG and my Twitter account as well. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Of course, it's a truly honor to see you on this side of the radio, Jerry. I'm definitely thankful. I'm humbled to be a part of the family and looking forward to what God is doing within us in the future.
Amen. All right. Thank you so much for having me, Lekeisha. Give your engineer a chance. All right. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right.
Yes. Amen. I'm going to go ahead and close this on out. We're going to go into the last segment of the show, and it is called Lekeisha's Love Letter of Healing, Encouragement, and Empowerment. And we're going to go ahead in Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. And it quotes,
You're listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast. Praise up, get your praise up. If you love the Lord, get your praise up. Come on. If you love the Lord, get your praise up. Get your praise up. If you love the Lord, get your praise up. Come on.
I never knew your love would make me feel this way, and it's like